thanks for checking me out again. I am recording this today on my birthday. Such is my dedication to you, the viewer. This time we've got Jade from the Bishoujo line, but not really. It's more, I guess, from the Artifacts line. Koto, I guess, this must be good marketing for them. As a Bishoujo fan, you know, it's lost on me, but all their Star Wars stuff that they do is Artifacts and Artifacts Plus and all that stuff. So I think they're trying to kind of get some crossover appeal. So people that do collect Star Wars stuff from them will collect this as well. I think they're more concerned about appealing to the Star Wars fans, because I think the Bishoujo fans kind of follow in line no matter what the packaging looks like. But the figure within is a Bishoujo figure, to be sure. So there's Shunya's art. Stark black contrast, I like that. I think the art's good. As usual, and is the case with this one as well, like the face on the in the art more so than what ended up on the statue, but that's just my preference. So here's the back of the package. And we get a good shot of that. There you are. Give that a read if you like. And there's some shots, different parts of the statue there. A little more attention to detail with these shots than on the kind of standard Bishoujo packaging. Here's the bottom of the box. This is pretty straightforward stuff. Although it doesn't show the sculptor on here, unless I'm just missing it, but I don't see it, which is typically shown on the Bishoujo boxes. And then there's a picture of the actual statue inside. This is a snap fit model kit. Okay, if you say so. But being that is a model kit and not just a straight up statue, I'll go over what assembly is included with this. So let's do that. Okay, so here you can see her in all of her pieces that she comes with, and the assembly that's required. It's kind of weird putting her in the package without her arm. She's just sitting there in the window with her stump sticking out at you. It's kind of an odd thing, but you know, makes the box a little smaller, so I'm down with that. So you can see here is her arm, her hand. We'll be attaching those two. She has some goggles that go around her neck, and two pieces to this kind of cape that she has, the back and the neck. And then you'll pick one of two lightsabers. So let's go ahead and start piecing her together. You get an instruction sheet, and pretty straightforward stuff. None of this is complicated, but there's that in case you need it. You can see all her accessories there. She comes with a couple of inserts for her base. She's got a Rebel and an Empire, both logos. And these inserts are a little higher quality than we've seen before. They've got a nice matte finish to them. They're plastic and a little more substantial feeling than the ones we've seen up until now that go into the display bases for Bishoujo statues. So those are nice. Here she is. And she's got little protective plastic here and there. She's got a nice blaster on her hip, and other things on around her hip area. Here's her base, and looks like she's going to slot in there just fine. Good and nice and snug. It's not loose, it's not going to come off like a couple of the other Tekken figures with these kinds of bases. So that's a good thing. Here's her arm. Go ahead and plug that in. Alright. I like that force arm. Here's her other hand for her lightsaber. the rest of the accessories here, I require the removal of her head. So, here's that. Her little piccolo cape. That's what it reminds me of. Little neck piece here. And they have tabs on them, so that's nice, and not just going to rattle around on there. You can see that they're going to tab in on her somewhere. So let's go ahead and take her head off. That was easy. You can see right there under her neck is where, I'm guessing this is going to go first. Or I think this is your option here. You can go with this if you don't want the cape, so that she doesn't have a gaping hole in her neck. Right? Or, I don't like that there's extra parts that are going to be left around when I'm decide whatever I end up going with, but that's okay. Not a big deal. Alright, and then there's that one. And that's pretty cool. It has a good feel to it. There's a nice sense of motion with that cape. It's done very well. It's got some nice shading details on it near the ends. Oh no, look at this. This isn't good. You got a pretty significant blue mark on the cape. That simply won't do. And I'm guessing that probably came off of her somewhere. I don't see any marks on her. That's less than ideal. Well, we also have some goggles. And these actually have translucent purple plastic in them, which is a nice touch, instead of just painting them the lenses purple. And those would go around her neck as well. Might as well put those on. I guess we'll just do that. There we are. Oops. Probably should get her in focus and in the center of the screen. Alright. And then you get to pick a lightsaber. So she is 2 lightsabers. She's got her original lightsaber. That's translucent purple here. You can see it's pretty nice. And this is her, I don't know, I guess you could say her dark side lightsaber. And admittedly, I don't know anything about Mara Jade. She's part of the expanded universe that I never got into. But I should. I just, I haven't. So, according to the box that she comes in, she was an apprentice for Senator Palpatine, I think it said. And that was her lightsaber at that point. And then Luke totally turned her out. And then he gave her his lightsaber. And this is not as translucent. As a matter of fact, this doesn't seem translucent at all. It seems, well, the light does pass through it at a point, but pretty straightforward. But the sculpt is probably a little more significant, that it is Luke's lightsaber. I can attest to that. I know that much. So there's that. Doesn't come apart, so you can't just have the hilt somewhere, which I don't know, I would have preferred if they separate. That way you can kind of lay the hilt down at near the base or something like that without it just on. But she'll keep the purple one for my purposes. Alright, well, we spent enough time doing that. I gotta say, I really like this figure, but I should qualify that because I don't know much about her. So any feelings that someone that has a familiarity with the character might have in regards of the accuracy of the statue or the depiction of the character, I can't really offer any input on that, unfortunately. But I can certainly compare her to other Bishoujo, and in that regard, she's outstanding in a few different ways. So this is another one of the examples where the illustration will vary quite a bit from the statue. One is the face, and that's just the way it goes nowadays. It has been for a while, honestly. What we're left with is good, but you know, if I had my druthers, I would prefer to look a little bit more like the illustration. Also, bits of the anatomy are a little bit changed. Her hips seem wider in the finished version. Sorry, let me get a... There we go. Then in the illustration, they're a little curvier. There's a little more shape to her. Her legs are crossed a little bit further, like they cross each other at a little more exaggerated angle, and you know, that's okay. The boob comparison. The ones in the illustration, a little bigger, a little kind of hang a little more naturally than what's going on here. Not that the statue's bad, but there's definitely a discrepancy there. There's some... Let's go ahead and pull them a little closer here so we can get a good idea of what I'm talking about here. So you see there's not much space underneath here, and there is there, and I prefer that. But, you know, what are you going to do? Aside from that, the pose, I think they've got well. It's a nice pose. It's very dynamic. I love the lightsaber behind. This is the kind of pose that I put figures that are posable in. Like if she was if this was a action figure, a posable figure, I would put her in a pose like this if I could achieve it, if possible. So this is a great pose for me. I really like this a lot. The sculpt came out great. I think this is one of the better Bishoujo figures that Koto has ever made. They're, I don't know, so a lot of detail here. Her boots, for instance. Let's start from the bottom up. Let's go. Let's see if I can snap this down into the base 100%. There we go. There. Still a little bit of room to get them seated all the way down. Good. So these have a nice metallic blue to them that is lighter in spots. Kind of, I don't know. It's kind of accentuates the shape of the boots, and very nice paint. And pardon me, my cat is going bananas over here. The blue on her suit on the sides here is darker blue with not much variation in the color. There's not much room for shading. I don't think it's a kind of material that would shade all that well, maybe. But certainly through the middle here, they've done a great job. The ribbing, in particular, I think is the reason why I like this figure so much. So Koto does this thing where fabric will pinch and kind of dip into the skin, and that's exactly what's going on here in this ribbing. And it's a very nice effect. It makes it look great. And on that note, the caboose is probably the best on any Bishoujo statue. I mean, that is remarkable. So well done. I don't know who the sculptor is offhand. I don't have that info right now, but my hat's off to them. They did a great job. So there's a lot of kind of variations that you could play with this figure. The goggles you can take on and off. You can put them on the different capes. You could take that wrap off of her neck and display her without it. The goggles would probably cover up the hole that it would leave. There's a peg hole right in her chest. I feel like they could have been better served putting that peg hole behind her neck, behind her hair. I'm sure there's probably a good reason that isn't obvious why that's the case, but you could display her without either one, and just have the peg hole in the back and you'd never see it. and you can take the goggles off as well. So, as an example, no goggles, no wrap. She's kind of got a little bit of like a choker kind of thing going on there. And yeah, it's not that bad. You don't really see the gap there, but it's there. There we are. Not that big of a deal. I don't think it would strike anyone as too odd if she was just standing there like that. But all the same, I think you put this gap there, right back here, and you know, done deal. So here she is with the cape, just so you can get an idea of kind of how she's proportioned with the cape. And it's a good look. The cape kind of sacrifices what I feel is a better look, if you know what I mean. And mine in particular has this blue smudge on it. You can see there. Not great. I don't appreciate that. It's actually probably the worst error I've ever had with a Bishoujo statue. So it's a pretty bad error, but it's rare. I've not had one like this. So I don't know, take that for what it's worth. But very cool statue. I'm digging this one a lot. This is one of my favorites, and that's saying something considering it's a character I'm really unfamiliar with. But female Jedis are always cool in my book. So let's go ahead and do some comparisons. Alright, before we get all the way into size comparisons, I want to go over a couple of things. One, her blaster is not removable, just in case you were wondering. It's affixed in there, that's going nowhere. And the other thing is her eyes. Her eyes don't match. And this has happened before in other Bishoujo statues, and you probably aren't going to notice it too much if it's just sitting on your shelf, but there's a point of focus, right, for an eye. For this one, it looks like it's about there. Right, about there, it looks like she's looking straight at you. There we are. But the other eye's way over here. And that point of focus is probably more around here or so. And then this one, who knows where that one is at that point. So, it looks like she's kind of just looking in, this direction, but not exactly. So that's a little annoying to me. I prefer that they sort that kind of stuff out. So, for comparison, I picked 3 Bishoujo figures I feel like you're some more impatient than others to get on camera, that you're most likely to own if you are watching this video. So, first of which, of course, is Jade Solo. And Jade Solo is still one of my favorite figures. I think they take more time, they put a little more into the Bishoujo Star Wars figures. That's certainly what it seems like. To me, they're the best Bishoujo that they've made so far. And you can't go wrong. So, these two size up pretty well with each other. As you can see, they're looks like they're made to be displayed alongside each other. They look pretty good together. The orange and the blue is a good contrast, just in general. But you also can make them oppose, or I guess join each other with the separate display bases, the different options you can put in either one, with the Rebel, or the Empire, and so on and so forth. So there's that. Then there's Chun-Li. And Chun-Li seems about on par with these guys, as scale-wise. She looks good there. Alright. And then there's Psylocke. Another one of Koto's best Bishoujos that they've made. So that's about as close as I can get Psylocke in with them. They're all grouped together here. Can't get them closer together than this. Alright. So, Koto recently, with the different figures that they've made, makes for some pretty dynamic displays. I mean, you can see here, I don't know, maybe there's a different way to mix these guys up so that, let's do this, maybe. It they make some good figures, I must say. Chun-Li's having some issues sticking in her base, by the way. And Jaina Solo, over time, I've noticed her lightsaber likes to fall out of her hand. It's on there just hanging by a thread all the time, so it's, I guess, no surprise. But I'm sure some people watching this now are probably wondering if they should get the Jaina Solo statue as well. I highly recommend her, but I'm sure she'll get a re-release by the time the Star Wars movies start coming out. I would bet on that. Anyway, there's Jaina Solo compared to the others. So, no, I mean, excuse me, Mara Jade. All in all, great figure. I think it's one of Koto's best, and I think it's gonna maybe I don't know. I'm not sure what they're thinking with the alternate packaging, the artifacts packaging, but you know, I'm sure that they know their stuff. And Jaina Solo apparently was a success for them, and they did the same thing with her. So I don't expect that to change. They haven't announced who is going to be the next Star Wars Bishoujo character. Fingers crossed for me for Darth Talon, but you know, anyone will be fine. I'm sure they won't end this line without getting to a Slave Leia, so I'm not worried about that one. I think that's everybody. Everyone kind of wants that, but I think everybody expects it, so no one's really clamoring for that just yet. Darth Talon seems to be like the leader in the clubhouse, from what I can see. But at any rate, thanks for watching. I appreciate the views and the subscriptions, and stay tuned. We've got shipping notifications for more Bishoujo that have been on pre-order for a while. Seems like we had a little bit of a dry spell, but the floodgates have opened, and that's what I'm talking about. And we've got more on the way. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Hit me up on Tumblr, and I'll see you next time.